My name is Danielle Graber. I'm a clinical psychologist and an animal-assisted therapist, and I work here at 12 Point Psychology in Ferntree Gully. And today I'm really, really happy to be speaking to Renata, who we got to know 6 or 7 years ago,
Yes,
um,
yes.
when pretty much our entire clinic started going to Lightwood Dental, where Renata was helping out as sort of a consultant and practice manager at the time. And we've now involved for the second time with helping them with co-hosting the biggest morning tea for cancer awareness and raising funds. So we thought we'd do this little interview, and Renata has very kindly agreed to talk about some of her own personal experiences when it comes to managing life with and after cancer. So I thought I'll ask you a few questions, Renata, and get everybody to meet you properly. I suppose, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself personally?
So hi everyone. My name is Renata Emilianowicz, and I'm the executive manager at Lightwood Dental in Ferntree Gully. And as Danielle said, we've known each other for a few years now. So I'm really happy to be doing this Q&A about living with cancer with Danielle. So about me, I have been in dental my whole adult life. So that's a massive part of my life. But on the personal side of things, I am married. I have two boys that keep me very busy. They're still in primary school, so there's a lot going on with that. I have a lovely dog called Pepper. We love her so much. She's been a gift from God, from our family. Um, and I have always been into music, into traveling, food. My life is just about food and coffee at the moment. I think that's how my husband and I connected the most. If if we didn't have kids, we'd be traveling around the world eating, because that's
Love
if there's a
that.
cafe, we are going to it. That's basically
Love
my.
that. Love that. Okay, well, as I said, I'm an animal assisted therapist, so maybe we start with do something quite unconventional for talking about cancer experiences, and sort of I want to start with Pepper.
Yeah.
How has having Pepper helped you deal with everything?
Yeah, well, we've always had dogs in our family.
Mm.
As soon as a dog passed, not as soon as, when a dog passed away, we'd all look at each other and go, how can we go another day without that kind of soul in our household? And so the next day we'd trot off to the Lost Dogs home and bring home some rescue that we could love for the next 10, 15 years or so. So with just before COVID, our dog passed away from old age, and
Yeah.
with everything that was going on with me, I was newly diagnosed that there was a lot to take in. And so I really knew that there's a lot of male energy in the house, there's a lot of testosterone.
Yes, yes,
And
I can see that. Yes.
and so I really needed some female energy, and I just needed someone that I could cuddle, no questions asked, who would
Mm.
look at me lovingly no matter what, that I could talk to, I work from home predominantly. And so having having someone, at my feet, or someone that I can just lean over and have a pat with, was really important to me. So that I don't know, there's something about dogs, and they've got the most precious heart and soul. And so I wanted my boys to grow up knowing that feeling.
Yes,
And
yes,
for them as
yes.
well, they had their own little things going on in their lives. So I really wanted for them to have that same experience. So during COVID, it was really difficult to get any sort of
Yeah,
animal, but
yeah.
we trotted off to Wood End to an animal shelter there, and they said, look, well, perhaps this dog might suit you. And she was very different to what I've normally had. I normally have dogs that are sort of small and fluffy and that you can sort of cuddle, and
Mm.
she's more like a Kelpie cross. She looks a bit like a dingo. So she's a bit of a medium-sized dog, and we
Yes,
thought, well, let's
yes.
let's go for it. Yeah, and she's just been a blessing.
Mm,
She was so easy to train. She's
mm,
so eager to please. She's so loving. She's playful. I've just had a dog like that. And it's just
yeah,
the whole package.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so we actually say she's like a gift from God for our family because she's
yeah,
just doesn't put a foot wrong. And she's just really amazing. And
gorgeous.
so to have that ball of energy and that and just
Mm.
that those positive feelings that you get from an animal,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I find they make you
loving
laugh
and soothing.
every
Yeah,
day. There's something every single day that will make you laugh. And
yeah,
when, I mean, that's incredibly useful and valuable all the time, but
yes,
especially when there's a
yes.
lot of other stuff going on, that's quite difficult. Yeah, so I suppose given we're doing this for the biggest morning tea in particular, I think it's really important to hear different types of cancer stories. Equally important to hear you are much more than cancer diagnosis and that there is a
Mm,
lot else to you.
mm,
But I do think, yeah, it's useful to hear sort of how it all happened for you.
yeah. Well, I always say this time around because I initially had like a primary breast cancer, like an initial breast cancer, about not quite 20 years ago. So when I was
Wow.
sort of in my early 30s, I discovered a small lump. And of
Oh,
course, at that time, your first ever cancer, just whole world stops. It was a really horrific and devastating experience. And at that time I went through it was an initial one, so it was like, well, you do the treatment and you should be fine. And so I did that. And in those days, the treatment, the chemo, was really full on. And
yeah.
I was really blessed at the time that my mother, who's recently passed away with dementia, at that time, she was still with it enough to look after me. And because I was in a real state, and I
Yeah.
didn't want anyone to see me without my hair,
Yeah.
and I have a very pretty strong personality. So I was like, you're the only one that I'm going to let into my world. I did live by myself at the time, which was lucky with my two little dogs. And so she came and, every cycle she'd come and live with me for a week and look after me. And I'd let her know how I wanted to be looked after, and she did
Brilliant.
it. And I was so thankful
Brilliant.
for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Wow.
sometimes people can kill you with kindness. And I'd say to my mum,
Yes.
at this time do this, and at this time do this. I don't care if I'm
Yes.
asleep. You've got to give me that medication. And because
Brilliant.
it was I was basically like a sounds awful, but I was basically just like a corpse in bed. Just all I could do was blink my eyes. The chemo was
Yeah.
that intense.
Yeah.
So fast forward about 10 years, and I got diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. So it was in a number of places in
Mm.
my body. And I'll tell you, Danielle, I was angry. I was really
Yeah.
angry when I got that diagnosis because
Yeah.
I had been in a trial and I was being observed and having regular scans for that whole time.
Oh.
And
Oh.
when I got to the end of my trial, which was, let's say, January, February, they said, well, that's it now. And so you're fine and off you go. And if you ever have pain, then let us know and we'll check you out. And then by that November, December, I had stage 4.
Oh my God.
So I was really angry and I just wanted to
Yeah.
get my hands on that last oncologist that I saw.
Yeah.
It's like how could this happen?
How? Yeah.
I was under review, constant
Yeah.
review for 10 years, and it was brewing inside of me. And I realized at that time what was happening. So I call it the system is that there are protocols that the public system that, public oncologists and things that they
mm,
follow.
mm.
And if you have an initial breast cancer, they'll review you. They only ever look at your breasts, but
No,
they know that if
no,
the cancer comes back, it's going to be
yeah,
brain, your lung, your liver, anywhere else. Never once did they check. Never once did
didn't
I have
realize
a blood test for markers. Nothing. So I could have killed someone. I really could have at that time. So that was really tough. Took a long time for me to get over that anger.
yeah,
But I was at that stage, I was like, well, I'm in the fight of my life, my literal fight of my life. And
yeah,
I was basically told in no uncertain terms, all we can do for you is see how long just help you live as long as you can.
mm,
And at this stage, I think I had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So it was quite devastating to go through that. But I I had to go and update my will. I had to tell my parents. I had to tell my in-laws. I had to tell my family, my friends. It was quite a devastating week after that
yeah,
diagnosis,
yeah,
where you can imagine what goes through your head, that my
yeah,
children are going to grow up without a mother. Everything that I've worked for is for nothing.
yeah,
What have I The first time around, I never asked why. I always say, well, why not me? If the
yeah, yeah,
statistics are like 1 in 6 women, I'm going to
yeah,
take that. I had a really close-knit group of friends at that time. There was about 6 of us. And I said, if it's me, I'll take it. But the second time around, I went, oh no, I'm not taking this lying down.
no,
So
fair, fair,
I was fortunate that within those first few days, I had 2 people in my life
mm,
that told me things that completely changed my outlook, that I didn't have to believe the prognosis. So now my motto is, you can believe the diagnosis, but never the prognosis, because you're not a
yeah,
statistic, you're not an
no,
average, you're not
no.
everybody, you're you.
And
That turned my world around. It opened my eyes to the healthcare system and the way that people are viewed. When you are diagnosed the first time with breast cancer, organisations like Breast Cancer Australia, the breast cancer nurses,
mm,
all of the little pink ladies and the pink ribbons that
mm,
you see everywhere,
mm.
they're all over you.
Okay,
For you,
yeah,
they follow
yeah,
up, they're
yeah,
everywhere. When you get diagnosed with stage 4, it's like you're pushed into an abyss and no one cares. I've never had a follow-up phone call from a nurse. I've never had anyone call me and say, are you okay? Do you need support? Financially, are you all right? Emotionally, mentally? Not once, Danielle. Basically, stage 4, it's like, here's some medication. Let's see if it works. You're probably going to be dead in a few years. And that's that. That is literally what it felt like to me. With those 2 friends at that time, is
yeah.
they
I would
said,
love to. Yeah, what was it that they said, or what was
the
it that
first
helped at that
the
point?
first one said to me, I've been on some forums
Mm,
in the UK, and there are women on these forums with the same condition as you, who have
mm,
been living with it as a chronic disease or chronic
mm,
condition for 20 years.
mm, mm.
So it
Yeah,
can be done.
yeah,
So that was the
absolutely.
first thing. That was that first
Yeah,
glimmer.
yeah.
The second one was from a really dear friend of mine who said, you the the protocols, the oncology treatment, the protocols that you go through with the hospital are very limiting,
Mm,
and they're
mm.
not designed to bring you back to health.
No.
They're just designed to, I guess, just put off death.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Prolong life, but not necessarily any kind of quality of life.
No, no. And she's a very spiritual person as well.
Mm,
Um, and she said to me, how can I put this? God has given you everything that you need to
mm,
survive. The universe and the earth, there's
mm,
everything that you need here
mm.
to thrive. So,
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about good food, getting
yeah.
back to nature,
Yeah.
herbs, all of that sort of
Mm,
thing. She said, it's all out there for you.
mm.
So, where our bodies are designed to heal. So you've got
And
to
yeah,
step aside and give your body what it needs to
yeah.
heal. So the more I delved into it, it was a ton of research. And yes, I Googled a lot of stuff. But I have to say, thank God for Google. I
Yes.
don't care what
Yeah,
people say, Dr. Google and all of that. Dr. Google saved my life. My friend saved my life
yeah, yeah.
because I did a whole 180 and went down another path. And
Mm,
here I
mm.
am 7 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you feel day to day at the moment? Physically, mentally, what's that look like for you?
Yeah, so I put things in little compartments. So from a cancer point of view,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Mm,
Um, everything is um, stable.
mm,
And so sometimes I'll get a new little spot or something like that that they might say, look, let's zap that with radiation. And I did have some news the other day that I do have a couple of spots that need further investigation. So I was a
okay.
little bit cheesed about that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
all my original lesions and areas of concern are
Mm.
all sort of calcified and stable and things like that. So
Amazing.
I'm
Yeah,
happy about
yeah, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
from a
Yeah.
cancer point of view, I give myself a tick. I'm okay. Now because I do um, the the usual protocol, so I am on chemo tablets, I do other
Mm,
injections and other medications. The
mm,
side effects of that
mm,
are really what is debilitating. And
mm.
it's because I've been put into a menopause. So I
Sure.
probably would have been in perimenopause anyway,
Mm.
but this is my second
It's
full
a
menopause
yeah, yeah,
and
that's different.
it's
That's different.
bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
And it's uh, it's progressively worsening. So every year, something more, something new, and I have to
Yeah.
deal with things. And so
Yeah.
that's hard. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that emotionally gets me and
Mm,
affects the family, affects my husband, affects our
mm,
quality of life,
mm,
affects my mental health has suffered,
mm.
especially
Oh,
over the last couple of years,
yeah.
because I want to do so much, but my body is stopping me.
Mm,
And I work so hard with a lot of complementary therapies. I do a lot of
mm,
other things to help me. And then, of course, if my body's letting me down and my mental health is letting me down, then I can't work as much. So then you
mm,
get to these financial situations. So
mm.
it's
Yeah.
freaking hard. The first 2 years, I felt like Superwoman. I was on supplements, I was seeing a naturopath and a herbalist and all sorts of things, and it was amazing.
Mm,
Slowly, the tide turned
yeah.
where these symptoms were just sort of becoming unbearable, and
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to marry all that up is really, really tough. Very tough. Yeah.
I think the mental load of it, I mean, the financial load is insane. It's really
Mm.
expensive to be sick. It's really
Yes.
expensive to be sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mental load, even just of juggling the practicalities involved, like, when we look at our week, it's also like, okay, so have I got enough of this medication? Have I got enough of this? If you go away for the weekend, have I got this, and have I got enough of this? Is this, yeah,
Yeah.
is this script up to date? Is that one, when do I have to go back to this specialist? Oh, is that referral still valid? Is this, it's so much to juggle. yeah, it's exhausting when you're already pretty exhausted. Yeah. And I think a lot of people tend to then, and fair, but they do sort of put off, looking after their mental health, because you just get into this thing of just one foot in front of the other, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And if I stop, all the balls will drop, and and so if I go and stop to someone and I talk about this, and I get in touch with the anger, or with the sadness, or with the grief, or with the
Mm, mm,
just the sheer shittiness of the whole thing,
yeah.
then I'm not going to be able to get going again. Um,
Mm,
and it's something I find that is really underestimated and just not talked about.
yeah.
Um, Especially since we are seeing so many more people now who are living with stage 4 for a long, long time,
Mm, mm,
which is awesome. But
yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that because it's stable that things are all good either. It's again, it's and that even that that's exhausting to think about,
Mm,
in terms of, like, I should be grateful, but God, this is a lot. But
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot. What have you found helpful at this point? You spoke earlier about, people can sometimes kill you with kindness, and especially when you're trying to stay in superwoman mode, or you're trying to stay in, like, I just got to keep going, one foot in front of the other, and someone's like, "Oh, can I give you a hug?" And you're like, "No,"
Mm.
because I need to stay in this doing mode to kind of keep going. What have you found the most helpful and the least helpful?
Um, I because it's been a number of years, 6 years now,
Mm,
and this for me is a journey.
mm,
So I am sometimes many steps ahead of people who find out about my situation for the first time.
yeah.
But what do you say to someone, when you
Mm,
find out their situation, if they have a chronic disease or a terminal disease, like what, I feel sorry for them. They've got nothing to say, except for, oh, I'm just in awe. I'm so, um, um, just so, what's the word?
it's
Here's
so
my brain fart.
inspiring.
Yeah, I'm
How do
so
you do it?
inspired by it, and it's amazing and all this sort of stuff, and you're like, yeah, 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 and they're like, you're so
Life.
positive, and
Yeah.
if I could eradicate one thing, people
Mm,
say, oh, you're so strong, you're so
mm,
positive, and
mm,
now it's like I've gotten to the point because it's been so many years.
mm,
So apologies to the people who say this to me, but I'm like, I'm not positive and I'm
mm,
not strong. And I
mm.
feel like sometimes, there's like this false positivity where,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I don't believe in
Yeah.
that. I work.
Which,
I
because
work for
yeah,
everything, for how I
yeah,
feel. I
yeah.
work.
It's realism that, you can still enjoy the good bits of life.
That's I think the hard thing is because we're dealing with this 24/7,
Mm,
and so we
mm,
have coping mechanisms, we have philosophy on it, or the way
mm,
that we go about doing things. We've packed all that up, we understand that, and
mm,
then once in a while you have to talk to someone who's nowhere near understanding where you are, and they're just saying all the niceties that, what
yeah,
can they say? So I do
yeah,
feel sorry for them. But I have a certain amount of faith. I have, as I said, I'm working towards things, but the most sort of irritating thing is when I would say to people, well, I've got my annual scan coming up and things, and people would say, you'll be fine. I just internally losing it because I'll be like, you can't say that because
no,
I
because
live this. I know that at any
yeah,
moment I
yeah,
could be
yeah,
told anything. So why are you
yeah,
saying this to me? Like it's better
mm,
instead of saying something that's so it's not I think they're trying to be nice, but it's actually
yeah,
dismissive. And
yeah,
so I think it's better to say something like, no matter what, I'm here with you. And then you
yes,
go, I
yes,
have a couple of
yes,
friends who are like that. And I'm like, oh
yeah.
my God,
Oh, that's
that really
amazing.
touches me.
That's
But when
amazing.
people are
Yeah,
like, oh, you'll be fine, don't worry about it, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah. I'm just like, you just,
yeah.
making me angry now.
And
It's like a
I get
silly
it.
thing to say. Yeah,
And
but
I used to get really annoyed with that as well. With similar, like um, eh, cancer wise, I'm good now, but I've got some other stuff that then just is not brilliant. Um, now I'm actually just like grateful that you don't know enough not to say that. Like that
yeah,
it's so far
yeah,
outside your experience. Well, good for you. Not to say that doesn't really drive me nuts some days, but
yeah,
because I think it carries that almost like then, well, if I'm not good, then somehow it's my fault, or I wasn't positive enough, or if
yeah.
if this result isn't good, then like I had someone once say when I got some bad results back in, and it's just like, oh well, you'll do better next time, and I'm like,
Mm.
this was in my control. It
Oh, yeah, yeah. It really is tough trying to deal with other people because you're dealing with your own inner
yeah
thoughts all the
yeah
time. And
yeah
the people that are really close to you, you're watching them, how they're reacting
yeah
to things, what are
yeah
their needs, and
yeah
being wives and mothers and things, got that nurturing thing, like you need to look after other people as well as yourself and manage situations and things, and then you have to deal with these third party, friends and acquaintances and work colleagues and all of that sort of
yeah
thing. You can't blame them. It's hard. But it just doesn't make your life easy. So sometimes you just have to brush it off and just
yeah
walk away from it. And it is what it is, and just, get yourself back on track in the way that you're thinking about things. So that those sort of things aren't helpful. But what is helpful is friends that stick by you, because I've lost a lot of friends over the last
yeah
6 years. I really have. I've been quite stunned at the people who just walked away or faded away. And
yeah
it's
yeah.
really broke my
It's
heart into a
it's
million
surprising
pieces.
sometimes who that is too. It's yeah
It's really that's the hardest people that you thought would be your friend forever is just they just walk away. It's really difficult. And then so you're
and
so
it's annoying
grateful
because they
for,
get to walk away. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I'd like to walk away. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have walked away from some friendships as well because I need talking about positivity is that I definitely avoid the negative. Like I
Yes.
don't need negative
Yes.
vibes. I don't need
Yeah.
people telling me if we're not aligned, if our values aren't aligned and our
Yeah.
philosophies and things aren't aligned, well, that's fine. That's okay. But that fade away, that soft fade away, that's the hardest. The people that were
Yeah.
once there for you no matter what are no longer there for you. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you turn around and you look at the people who are in your life and you think, my
Yes.
God,
And they're
thank
amazing.
God for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I have a couple of, maybe three people that I can say, thank God that you're in my life because you understand me, you get me, we can
Yeah.
have a good time. If
Yeah.
I can, they want to know how you are,
Yeah,
and
they're genuinely interested.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
really important to find
Yeah.
those type of people.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's natural. Friendships come and go, but I guess, when you're in this position and you're trying to keep the whole show going and
Uh, uh,
trying to look after yourself emotionally and mentally and all that sort of stuff.
uh,
It's a killer. It really is a killer when you
yeah.
have to
Yeah.
go through breakups when you just want
Yes.
to live and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
everything else is on top of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I've had days where I couldn't go to work because I was just crying from the
Uh,
the disappointment and the sadness and the anger of
yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, yeah. The cancer's almost a little bit more like, well, I kind of get you. You're a biological process, and like that, it's
Yeah,
not personal.
yeah. So
Um,
good,
I
honest friends, people who are
yes,
truly there for you, who don't just say, let me know how I can help, who actually pick up the phone first and call
yeah,
you
yeah,
they're the ones
yeah,
that, make it all worthwhile. Yeah.
yeah. And there's definitely something I found there in terms of one being okay to be vulnerable with people, which previously I was just like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But that also safer to do that because if they've stuck around, they're probably pretty good. Like
Mm.
they're probably
Yeah.
pretty safe.
Yeah.
So if there was, because I know we have to finish up, but if there was, what's one thing you would just really wish people would know or understand better about living with
Mm.
cancer?
For me, it comes down to my motto about things is I'm not fighting cancer.
Mm,
This is not a battle. I'm healing.
mm,
So I'm doing things that are helping my physical body heal and recover and regenerate. And I'm healing my mind as well from the trauma of this whole
yeah,
situation and
yeah,
everything that we've spoken about, financial things, work, family, children,
mm,
responsibilities, the specter of death, all of that sort of stuff. I'm healing from this.
yeah,
So supporting people with
yeah,
those complementary therapies
yeah,
and looking at other ways. I still do the traditional stuff,
mm,
treatment, but
mm,
it's 5% of what's going on in my life. So
mm, mm,
being more supportive of that and understanding that it's a healing journey, not a battle,
yeah,
because if you
yeah.
fight this, you often don't win. So
I don't
I
think you
feel like
can.
I have to change my
Yeah,
perspective around that.
yeah,
And some people didn't like that. So
yeah. I can
oncologists
see that.
definitely don't like it.
Well, no, I mean, yeah,
GPs are not that great either. And sometimes
yeah.
friends are like, you're being silly. Like,
Ouch.
trust your doctor. And I said, that went out the window a long time.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
the support of that person's journey and helping them. And as I
mm,
said, if I didn't have those two particular people at the
mm,
start,
yeah.
go out on a limb and find out information for me to give me hope and
Yes,
faith.
yes, yeah,
I might be dead, Danielle, if it wasn't for those two people. I
yeah,
think about that. Like it's yeah, so I
yeah,
think just know that the body is an amazing thing and you should do everything you can to support your friend to be or your spouse or whatever to be
well,
healthy. And if you've got to
and to,
make radical changes because it's a radical
yeah,
situation,
yeah, yeah, it's kind of the
Yeah.
most radical. I mean, I think it is not for everybody, but for most, and it sounds like for you, it's a very clarifying thing of like, well, I really like nobody knows how much time they have and all that kind of crap, but they don't have to think about it as often. And when you do, I find it makes you much more not capable. You realize what's really important and that you live the best with what you've got, and you've got to be happy with, well, this is, I'm happy with what I chose, I'm happy with what I
Mhm.
did, I'm happy with how I lived, whatever this time is. That's the most important thing, I think. That doesn't, if somebody else thinks it's silly or whatever, I don't really care. You get to decide what you do. If you get cancer, you figure out what you want to do, but this is what, I mean, yeah, I if I had a friend say I'm going to stop all conventional treatment and just use apple cider vinegar or something, I'd probably be concerned, to be fair.
I'd be a little bit concerned too because there's no silver bullet
No,
when it
because
comes
it
to
is,
this.
yeah,
There's,
but
it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
one thing is not going to save you. There's
oh,
so much that you need to take care of
yeah,
in order
yeah,
just to even make a dent in this thing. But I kind of have seen the proof in the pudding
yeah,
and other
yeah,
people who I get a lot of people who call me, friends of friends and family and things who say, look, my sister's been diagnosed, my brother's been diagnosed. Can you talk to him? Can you share your journey? And I do that as much as I can, depending on my
yeah,
headspace.
yeah,
I do that
yeah,
as much as I
yeah,
can.
yeah,
And most of those people have died. Because I feel like when you get cancer the first time, it's such a devastating thing to happen, and then you
mm,
just you go with the conventional and you think that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that might save you, or that. And I think I've learnt now that, yeah, that's a good part of what needs to happen, but it's not the
Yeah.
be all and end all. It certainly isn't. And so you really do need to explore other things. And I think that it's just lucky, I don't know, or it was designed that way that I had that first cancer. I got the second cancer when I could research and the whole world was open to me, and I had all these, I had access to so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
information. Uh,
Well, and you had the skills to analyze it and understand what you were reading as well, and to apply
yeah,
that critical thinking and figure out, yes, this aligns, this makes sense, or that doesn't quite fit. And whereas
yeah.
I think some people don't have that skill either, and so
I
it's
didn't
it's
have it the
harder for
first
them
time
to.
around.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's,
Well,
if
you were
this has
very young too.
happened to me when I was
Yeah.
32, I really don't know what would have become of me.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, mate, it's just timing, luck. I don't know, but I'm glad that that
Yeah. Yeah.
that it just happened that all of this came into my life and I was able to deal with it a certain way. I don't know what's around the corner. I don't know you know if I'm going to live for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. I'd like to live to 75. That's what I've got.
Oh, okay, that's your number. Okay, yeah, yeah.
That's enough.
Mine's
That's enough.
mine's 60. I was like, okay, if I get to 60, I'm good. That's the yeah. It's funny how that we get that that's that an idea in our head. Thank you so much for your time. And look, I think you're awesome, cancer or not, like this. You just I'm sure you were awesome well before the cancer, and so of course you were
I
going to.
was. I was super awesome, Danielle.
So yeah, so that wasn't going to change. And but thank you so much for talking about this. I think this will be a really useful thing for people to hear. The ones who are dealing with it and don't know what to say and don't want to say the wrong thing, you've given them some really good, like, well, yeah, don't say this. Everyone's different, but I like every
Yeah,
client I've
it's a
ever worked
tough.
with,
It's
every
tough.
patient I've ever, it's yeah, no one likes the "you're so strong, you're an inspiration," that sort of thing, or the no one likes the ghosting, obviously, or the it'll be right. Um, just be there, just
Mm.
be there and be another
Yeah,
person.
life is tough for everyone, whether you have cancer or not.
Yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
going on in everybody's lives.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I get that. I understand that. So hold on to the people that make that
Yeah.
time for you.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. Yes,
Yeah.
that's yeah. I think that's all any of us can do, really. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. We'll hold on to the people and the pets, maybe.
Yes. Oh, definitely the pets.